A Justice Department official and federal prosecutor. So, Joseph, perhaps you can tell us, why are federal prosecutors essentially reviving this sex crimes case against Mr. Epstein many years later?
Sure, Laura. We're going to hear a lot from the defense in this case about the fact that this is sort of a resuscitated prosecution, that these are old charges, and it's basically a do-over of what happened in Florida many years ago. There's a number of reasons why that argument is going to face a very uphill battle. First of all, that was conduct completely in Florida, in the Southern District of Florida, that allegedly took place in the early 2000s. If you look at the indictment that was unsealed in New York, it takes great pains to detail the fact that these allegations took place in New York. Now, they touch on Florida as well, but they focus largely on allegations of sex trafficking and underage prostitution in New York. That's done very strategically. The other thing is that the non-prosecution agreement that was entered into with Mr. Epstein in Florida only limits prosecutors in Florida. It does not bind prosecutors in New York. So they are effectively free to run with these charges.
So why was that secret plea deal that Mr. Epstein entered into in Florida? And by the way, the now Labour Secretary Alex Acosta was the chief lawyer in Florida back then. Why is it so controversial?
Well, I mean, I think that it really goes to the heart of what resonates with a lot of people, which is that while our justice system is largely seen as really good, certain times it appears that the rich and the powerful will get deals that perhaps the ordinary and the perhaps not so powerful will not get. And so this seems like this could be a situation where you had allegations of literally, from dozens of victims against Mr. Epstein in Florida, and he essentially got a slap on the wrist. 12 or 13 months in a local state penitentiary, sex offender registration. That's serious, of course, but it could have been decades in jail of what, from what he was facing back then. So I think it really goes to the heart of whether or not our justice system is fair for everyone.
And what do you make of the fact that federal prosecutors are saying that more of Mr. Epstein's alleged victims are coming forward now?
Well, that's not uncommon. I mean, it's typical that in a case like this, you will have an initial indictment that is unsealed immediately upon arrest. And so that's what we've seen in New York currently. But we also learned about a raid on Mr. Epstein's home this morning. We've heard about possible additional victims coming forward. So it's very likely you will see a superseding indictment, basically additional charges that will come in the coming weeks and months before and up to such time in fact, a trial is held.
And what about the defense? We're going to hear from Mr. Epstein's team, as you said, that essentially he's already been tried.
Well, I think, again, he can try that, but different jurisdiction, different types of charges, an agreement in Florida not binding New York, no statute of limitations, which means that even if these actions are old, there's no time limit binding the government as to when they can bring charges, as there are in some other unrelated cases. So I think that he can try that. I don't think he's going to get a lot of mileage. I think, look, obviously, these are just charges. They haven't been proved yet. That being said, they're extremely, extremely serious.
Joseph Moreno, thank you for joining us.
Sure, Laura.